The mechanic's job that day was simple. Walk to the engine bay, open the valve, pour in the sodium silicate, wait for the engine to seize, sign the federal form confirming it was done correctly, move to the next one. 677,081 times in a single summer. Who benefits when 677,000 fixable, drivable, analog vehicles disappear from American roads in 54 days? That is the question this video answers. Today we are going through 4 things. What the government told you Cash for Clunkers would do, what it actually did, who paid for it, and the exact vehicles you need to own before the next version of this program passes. Every number in this video comes from NHTSA data, congressional records, and studies published by Brookings, the National Bureau of Economic Research, and Edmunds. This is not opinion. This is their paperwork. June 24th, 2009. President Obama signed the Consumer Assistance to Recycle and Save Act into law. 3 stated goals. 1. Provide economic stimulus to a car industry on the edge of collapse. 2. Get inefficient vehicles off American roads. 3. Reduce carbon emissions. Congress allocated $1 billion. The money was gone in 30 days. They added another $2 billion. That was gone in 24 more days. $3 billion. 54 days. 677,000 vehicles destroyed. Now let us look at what those $3 billion actually bought. The National Bureau of Economic Research studied 957 U.S. cities. Their finding: the sales surge lasted exactly as long as the program ran. By March 2010, 7 months after the program ended, the cumulative effect on vehicle sales was essentially 0. The cars that sold during the program were not additional sales. They were sales pulled forward from the following months. Edmunds went further. They calculated the actual cost per incremental vehicle sold, meaning vehicles that would not have been purchased without the program. Their number? $24,000 per vehicle. The government spent $24,000 of taxpayer money for every single additional car sale. And the environmental benefit? The Christopher Knittel study from UC Davis calculated the implied cost of carbon reduction under Cash for Clunkers. It was higher than a carbon tax, higher than cap and trade. The cheapest environmental policy on the books would have reduced more emissions for less money. The official story did not survive contact with the data. But there is a third story, the one about who actually cashed in.
Let us follow the stock prices. From the introduction of Cash for Clunkers legislation in January 2009 through the program's end in August, Ford stock increased 253%. Honda's stock increased 44%. Toyota's stock increased during the same period. The 3 manufacturers whose compact cars dominated the top 10 purchase list under the program. Now let us look at what got destroyed. The most crushed vehicle under Cash for Clunkers was not a rusted-out beater. It was the 1995 to 2003 Ford Explorer, 46,676 of them, working SUVs, family vehicles, trucks that ran. The second most crushed, the 1996 to 2000 Chrysler, Dodge, and Plymouth minivans, nearly 24,000 of them. These were not pollution machines. These were the vehicles working-class families used to get to work, haul tools, move furniture, and take kids to school. Now here's the detail that should make you put down whatever you are holding. The sodium silicate destruction requirement was not standard procedure. It was written specifically into the law. Dealers were required to destroy the engine with liquid glass before the vehicle left the lot. Recyclers had 180 days to salvage remaining parts, but the engine, the most valuable component, was already dead. Non-compliance carried a $15,000 fine. Federal inspectors verified the destruction. Ask yourself why that level of certainty was necessary for an environmental program. If the goal is reducing emissions, you recycle the vehicle, you sell the parts, you let the engine power another truck that needs one. If the goal is making sure those engines never run, you write a $15,000 fine into federal law. The people who built those trucks were in bankruptcy. The people who bought the new cars got a subsidy. The people who needed those used trucks got a smaller market and higher prices. Now, here's what that actually cost them.
August 2009, before the program even ended, Kelley Blue Book published a warning. Their senior analyst wrote that the supply reduction would cause used car values to spike and that dealerships would end up with excess inventory the moment the program stopped. He was right about the spike. Used car prices rose immediately following the program. A University of Minnesota study examined the specific impact on the top 10 vehicles traded in. Their conclusion: the buyers hardest hit by the used car price increase were low-income families, the exact families the program claimed to be helping. The Cato Institute did the asset math. If each of the 677,000 traded-in vehicles was worth approximately $3,000 at trade-in, the program destroyed $2.25 billion of asset value in a single summer. Now, here's the number that shows you the damage was permanent, not temporary. The average age of the U.S. vehicle fleet in 2009 was 10 years. In 2024, 15 years later, it is nearly 13 years. Americans are holding on to vehicles longer because affordable replacements are harder to find and more expensive to buy. The supply compression of 2009 never fully recovered, and the parts market got hit twice. Recyclers passed on many cash for clunkers trade-ins entirely because with the engine destroyed, there was not enough margin in the remaining parts to justify the paperwork. Your ability to find a used engine, a used transmission, or a used drivetrain component from a late 90s or early 2000s truck got permanently harder after that summer. The supply compression already happened once, and the people designing the next program already know that. Before we get to what is coming next, drop a comment right now. Did you trade in a working vehicle under cash for clunkers, or do you know someone who did? Tell us what the vehicle was and whether you regret it. We read every single comment, and tag someone who needs to see this before the next program passes.
In 2020, Ford's vice president of U.S. marketing, Mark LaNave, told Bloomberg directly, and this is a quote, "Cash for clunkers was very effective in 2009. It would be nice to think we could have something equally effective." The manufacturer that benefited most from the first program is publicly calling for the next one. The Build Back Better framework included a provision for up to $12,500 in federal rebates for trading in an internal combustion vehicle towards an electric vehicle purchase. It stalled in the Senate, but the framework is on record. The lobbying infrastructure that passed the first program is still funded, still active, and still working. If a second supply destruction program passes, the price of every pre-2010 analog vehicle moves in one direction: up, fast, and permanently. Here is your list. The specific trucks still available at reasonable prices right now before the next program changes the market again. The 2000 to 2006 Chevy Silverado with the 5.3 Vortec V8. Pre-subscription, pre-telematics, pre-government mandate. A truck that starts when you tell it to. The 1999 to 2004 Ford F-250 with the 7.3 Power-stroke diesel. The most requested engine in this channel's comment section, for good reason. The 2000 to 2005 Toyota Tacoma with the 3.4 5VZ FE V6. Pre-VVTi, mechanical simplicity. A parts community so large you will never struggle to find what you need. The 1998 to 2002 Dodge Ram 2500 with the 24-valve Cummins 5.9. A diesel engine with no electronic fuel control, nothing a software update can touch, ever. Here is the verdict. Cash for Clunkers destroyed 677,000 working vehicles in 54 days. It cost taxpayers $3 billion. The economic stimulus evaporated within 7 months. The environmental benefit was negligible by every independent measure. The manufacturers whose stocks jumped 253% during the program are already on record asking for the next one. The families who needed those used trucks are still paying the price in a market that never recovered the supply that was destroyed. Was it policy, or was it strategy? The Brookings data, the Edmunds numbers, the NBER studies, and the Ford executives' quote all point in the same direction. You decide, but decide before the next vote. Because when that vote happens, and the infrastructure to make it happen is already in place, nobody is going to call you first. Here is your question for the comments. Do you believe Cash for Clunkers was genuine stimulus or deliberate supply destruction? Drop your answer below. And if you know someone who traded in a working truck in 2009 and regrets it, tag them right now. They deserve to know what that truck was actually worth. If this video made you think twice about what your government and the manufacturers are doing to your transportation options, the next episode is going to make you think 3 times. We're going inside the specific data brokers buying your driving data from Ford, GM, and Stellantis right now. Without a warrant, without your consent, and without your knowledge. That drops in 7 days. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because the people buying your data are counting on you not knowing. Hold the line. Stay analog. Keep turning your own wrenches. We'll see you in the next one.